Good morning, dear 8th graders. So I'm going to give a few announcements today to start off with. I'm going to share my screen with you, and then I'm going to go over the questions for today for the Count of Monte Cristo, and really just a nuts and bolts kind of day today. So first, let me share my screen with you. And okay, here we go. So for our announcements, with the class wall, I will continue to post things there, but I'm going to make an adjustment for the video and for the attendance question. And the reason that I'm doing that is so that it will actually appear on your calendar, because I know a lot of you all are relying heavily on your calendar. So I figured out a way to do that. What I'm going to do is I've created a topic, a unit for general announcements and videos, and when I put it in there, it'll automatically pop up on your calendar, your list of things to do to watch your video and answer your attendance questions. So hopefully that'll be more user-friendly for you guys. Obviously you found it today if you're watching this. The chat and email, please do continue to contact me through those, and unless you think there's a question that would really help everybody in the class, don't post that on the class wall. Your personal questions will be much better on the chat and the email. That'll help me to see them faster and be able to answer them faster, and for your classmates to not have a bunch of extra questions on their class wall. Other quick note, all of my assignments are due by 11:30 p.m. and I want to let you know that just in case you have other assignments from other classes due earlier in the day. I know some of you are sharing computers with other siblings and you just got a lot going on. So I want to give you as much time as possible during the day to get those things accomplished. If for some reason your assignment's late, you were sick, you had tech issues, or it's just late, email me the assignment because LMS cuts off the ability to submit after that deadline. Computers are not as gracious as people, so you can still turn it in. Just make sure that you email me. As I said, with the video and attendance, that's going to be its own assignment, its own topic, so it'll appear on your calendar. Also, I want to let you guys know my main two academic goals for you guys are just reading and writing. So one thing that I've was kind of my gut to do, and then I wasn't sure, and I checked with my department head to make sure it was okay, but I'm not going to grade you all on vocabulary assignments. I'm just going to grade your quizzes, and they're going to be open book. So I've left the assignment options there for you to pick from if those help you. If you've already done them, fantastic. I may find a little way to give you some bonus or something like that for being such a go-getter today. And some of those same people were the people who helped me realize a student perspective of how LMS was working too. So I really appreciate that. You guys are helping to make things more user-friendly for your classmates. All right, so today's work is really just to watch this video, answer the attendance question, read chapters 4 through 6, and to do the guided notes. Now, some of you have asked, and I had posted this earlier, but I know it's hard to find everything on the LMS system. So I'm going to go over the questions daily, but you're going to submit the guided notes at the end of the unit. So there is some flexibility there. You are on your honor for the reading. Quizzes are going to be open book, open notes. No quiz this week, so do not worry about that. Just read the story, okay, and watch the videos, fill in those notes. Use that character keeper sheet to help you. I'll add some things in another video later this week to kind of bring you up to speed on that as well. All right, so a couple little background things with the Count of Monte Cristo. Alexandre Dumas, so that's the guy that wrote the book. He's French. I'm not French, so I'm going to try to pronounce things with at least an okay accent, but I'm not going to make any promises. I'm still looking, I'm Googling like how do you pronounce some of these people's names, and there are little pronunciation websites and videos and things that you, if you're curious, or you can ask Mr. Timmons because he knows French. Anyway, so Alexandre Dumas, he was born 1802 and lived till 1870. So if you think right after our country got their independence, but before the War of 1812 is when he was born, and then he died about 5 years after the American Civil War ended, if that kind of puts you in a time frame. His father was actually a general under Napoleon, so we did that little enrichment reading section on Napoleon before we went for spring break. Reason for that was this is relevant to the Count of Monte Cristo. So he was known for his lavish spending habits, ran from his creditors, and so, you know, he would probably know a little bit of the ins and outs of some things that are in this story. He wrote about thrilling adventures, love affairs, imprisonments. So this would be during a time of romantic writing, not romantic as in mushy-gushy, but as in just high adventure, high emotion. Think of your Pirates of the Caribbean kind of stuff if you're into that. He does ignore historical accuracy because he's more focused on writing a thrilling story. Now, he's the author of our book, The Count of Monte Cristo, and another book, The Three Musketeers, which might be a little bit more of a popular title that you may have heard of. At least there's a candy bar, so there you go. French Revolution is our historical setting. So that's 1789, 1799. One of my favorite authors, Charles Dickens, you read him in 7th grade, you're reading him again in 10th. He wrote A Tale of Two Cities, which was set during the French Revolution. A lot of people think Les Mis is set in the French Revolution, but it's actually not. It's a little bit later. But it's a popular historical time period to write about if you're going to do historical fiction. It was radical political and social change in France. So if you'll notice the dates, this is right a little bit after France helped us win our war for independence against Britain. They didn't have such a great time. It kind of followed the whole peasants rebel, peasants die. So there was violent turmoil, and there was the reign of terror. So they won for a little while. You know, they got rid of Marie Antoinette and King Louis, but then they had a tyrant and the reign of terror. And then you have Napoleon. He was the leader of France after the revolution. We read a little bit about him. So that was still controversial, though. It wasn't that everybody liked Napoleon. So you had your Bonapartists, you had your royalists, and then, as we read, he was banished to the Isle of Elba. Okay. His exile was 1 year, though, and then, you know, met his Waterloo. All right, the Count of Monte Cristo. Edmond Dantes is betrayed by his enemies and unjustly imprisoned, okay? And the reason for going over Napoleon Bonaparte in this historical context is that it is tied in. There's some, with the betrayal, there's some accusations of conspiracy. He does escape miraculously and avenges himself on his enemies. So that's really an overall premise of the book. And it is based on some true events. There's going to really be a theme of revenge, the human heart, of forgiveness, of brokenness. So it is a very beautiful story. It's very long. We're actually reading, though, what's called an abridged version, which means it's shortened. So imagine if you were reading the whole actual thing. There are some movie adaptations. I have not seen all of them, and you would definitely want to check with your parents after reading so you don't get confused while reading. But afterwards, you would want to ask their permission and thoughts on that and look at parental advisory and things like that. Okay, so that's a little bit of background as far as our reading for today. So we have Dante's Four Enemies. I'm going to do my best to pronounce these. So you've got Monsieur Danglars, okay? He's one. Then you have Caderousse, and then you have Monsieur Villefort and Fernand. Okay, so those four guys are quickly going to band together because they can't stand Edmond Dantes. Now, chapter 1. The setting, you just need to know they're in Marseilles in France in 1815, so smack dab in the middle of this French Revolution setting. Really quick, just to loop back, I know I gave you hard copies of these notes before spring break, and then I put Word and PDF versions of the fill in the blank ones on the literature unit section. So you can check those with this PowerPoint here. And yeah. Okay, so the protagonist, we mentioned him already, Edmond Dantes. He's only 20 years old, but he's a really successful guy. He is a sailor on the Pharaon, and then he actually ends up becoming the owner. And through just different series of events. Actually, he's about to be promoted captain. Sorry, I misspoke on that one. So the captain, Leclerc, he dies of a brain fever. He's trusting Edmund to be able to carry out the rest of the plans. Edmund's like the good, successful kid, okay? But he's got some enemies who are jealous. So Monsieur Danglars, he's in charge of the finances. He's jealous of Dantes. Okay? And then Dantes, on his voyage to retrieve a letter for the captain, um, he stops at the Isle of Elba, and Napoleon is there, and that's a little bit of how he gets in trouble for being at the wrong place at the wrong time, seen by the wrong person. Okay? He does have a fiance named Mercedes. That's also another reason for some jealousy to come on later up. Okay? So Edmund comes back from all of his voyaging, and he finds his father, and he is completely just concerned for him because his father is sick and starving, and he's not wanted to tell Edmund that he doesn't have a lot of money. And then Edmund feels terrible because he's like, I haven't taken good care of you as a son, but I'm getting a promotion. So that's great. He does owe a debt to a guy named Carreros. So, enemy number 3. And these guys begin to conspire against him. So the guy that owes him the debt, Carreros, and Danglars, who's jealous of him because of his position with the captain and with the ship's owner. So the Catalans are immigrants from Spain and gypsies. They're going to be important later on in the story. Now, Mercedes, if you remember, Edmund is her fiance, and there's another guy that likes her, though, and his name is Fernand, and she rejects him because she loves Dantes. And so then we have enemy number 4. Okay, so Fernand, he kind of has this moment of going, to go drink his sorrows, and he runs into Danglars and Carreros, and they end up starting to plot against Edmund. So the mastermind of the plot, though, is Danglars, so that's important to know. You may even want to create a chart of some of the relationships. If you're a visual person, I would be like, okay, I'd draw my Danglars at the top, and then the 3 henchmen that are with him and their motive out to the side. That's just a quick thought I had. So there's some foreshadowing at the end of chapter 3, and that's when there's a reference to Madame Dantes and Captain Dantes. The reason that that's foreshadowing is Dantes is not captain yet, and Madame is different than Mademoiselle. Mademoiselle is for a woman who's not married, like Miss, and Madame is like Mrs., so a woman who is married, and of course Dantes is Edmund's last name. So in calling Mercedes that, it's supposed to be foreshadowing her marriage to him, but we'll see what all takes place. Okay. Danglars is going to use a piece of evidence against Edmund, and it's going to be the letter that the captain entrusted him to take to the Isle of Elba to give to Napoleon. Okay, so you've got a lot of conspiracy, a lot of scandal, and you're going to want to make sure that you check in on these videos where I'll give you the quick little bits, and then we'll have some discussion posts where we get to maybe go a little deeper than just the facts of the story. But there's a lot of people to keep up with, so the facts are important as well. All right, I don't want to take up any more of your time. I know you've got a lot to do today. So if you have any questions, just feel free to contact me via the chat or the email, and I will see you guys tomorrow. So thank you all very much, and have a good day.